could collapse as well. So there is a continuing danger here, and it was very risky for firefighters to try to go in the building. They were rescuing people over the course of about an hour or so from their balconies using a ladder truck or a cherry picker, as one man described it to me. The mayor says there's no reason for this building to have gone down the way it did unless there was a sinkhole or unless someone pulled the supports out of the building. Now, we know that there was roof work being done, a roof replacement type of project. It's unclear what role that may have played in this building collapsing. There was a building next door, another condo building that was built last year, and one man, the former vice mayor of Surfside, Barry Cohen, said that during that construction project there was a lot of rumbling and that was shaking his building, Champlain Tower South. So he wonders if that could have affected the structural integrity of the building. Now, the people who were evacuated, they were taken to a community center and are waiting to be brought to a hotel. The American Red Cross is involved in working to get these people a place to stay because this building, they cannot go back into it. Even though all their belongings are in there, this is not a safe place to be right now. This building will likely have to be demolished, according to the mayor. He says that the search of the non-damaged units is complete, but the search of the damaged units is ongoing. 15 family units, he says, walked out on their own after the collapse, and the chance that this building would collapse the way it did, there's less of a likelihood of that than being struck by lightning. Now, back live, we are waiting for an update from Miami-Dade Police on what the status is of the search of the survivors and possible bodies that may be under the rubble. We're also working to get more information on the inspections that were done on this building, what type of work was being done, what's the latest on the cause of this horrific collapse. If we get any new information on that, we will be sure to bring it to you on air and online at local10.com. Live in Surfside, Madeline Wright, Local 10 News.
All right, Madeline, we appreciate that update very much. Thank you so much for those details. Right now, we want to take you to this picture. This obviously is what the building used to look like with an aerial view prior to today. You can see the person has highlighted the portion of the South Tower that has been partially collapsed and wrote the word gone right there. So you can see exactly what it used to look like, and it gives you a bird's eye view of the L shape of the building that we were told by the experts out there.
Right, it ties into the man Syra was interviewing earlier where it was an L-shaped building. That no longer the case, as this is a view of what it looks like essentially right now. This is from Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue, a different view of the collapse. All that rubble down there, it looks almost stories high. And to give you a sense of perspective, just look at the people at the bottom left side, at the bottom of your screen, all those people there, and then how tall that rubble looks. It may not be head on, but you can get a clear sense of how significant, how large that pile of rubble is.
That picture is powerful, really seeing what the people of Surfside are dealing with today. And also, one thing we brought you in our continued coverage right here on Local 10 were the rescues. And this definitely, your heart went out to the people that were being pulled out of their condo buildings through their balcony by Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, being put on that ladder truck and brought to safety. You see that even her walking equipment being handed to her as she's brought down safely to the ground. What a relief for that family knowing that she is okay. And those are the rescues we watched live right here on Local 10 hours ago, early this morning.
Including other powerful images of them breaking off the balconies using some sort of machinery to rip it off, that way allowing them to pull people onto their trucks and down to safety. There was also video of a boy pulled from rubble, perhaps one of the more striking images that we've seen all morning long. It's right here on your screen. Just a myriad of images where you wonder and hope that everyone involved is okay. We do know that 10 people were treated at the scene after this collapse, 2 of them transported to area hospitals. Unfortunately, 1 passing away on the way to the hospital. But again, this is a view of just some of the powerful imagery we've been seeing all morning long.
And we talk about the search and rescue efforts that are underway, hopefully recovery efforts as they search the rubble, the debris field, just the massive destruction. And we saw dogs. See those canines right there? They are brought in to search for people who may be trapped under that collapse of all that debris and everything that has fallen off that building and right to the ground below. So we do know those dogs have already made at least one pass, and they have not found anything yet, but we do know those efforts will continue, not only today, but in the days ahead.
Right, and keep in mind that the immediate scene around this building is closed off. Of course, crews keeping people as far away as they can because of concerns regarding falling debris, and also the concerns of structural integrity with that building, because when it's partially collapsed, you have to worry about the rest of the building. And with that, we do have Annalise Garcia closer to the scene, as close as she can be. So let's get out to her live. Annalise, what can you tell us?
Well, we just moved again to be able to get a different view for you. We're just off of 88th Street and Harding Avenue. Now, let me step out of the way. You can see this is the view from the street. Actually, there's dust all around the building on the cars. It's actually getting in my eyes right now, but it's from the collapse. And you can see it right there. This is a corner view from Collins Avenue. Now, you can see earlier we just saw one of those dogs that you were just talking about on the street. This is a much different scene than a while ago. You can see the people working closer to, but also some family over here just waiting by. Now, like I said, very different than earlier this morning when we saw people running in a panic, looking for their loved ones. The mayor mentioned that 15 family units walked out of their homes, and we spoke to one of the people who was able to walk out. She lives on the 9th floor. She was in complete shock, and listen to what she had to say.
The whole building shook like an earthquake.
And what did you think when you heard that?
I opened my sliding glass and I saw a plume of dust. And then I opened the door and I saw that the building had pancakes in the back.
Have you been in touch with your neighbors? Anybody?
There's some people that are alive, but there's 2 lines that everybody's gone.
And you heard
hopefully there's some people, they've been able to rescue some people because I heard some screams.
Now back out live, you're looking at the top of this building, and we'll just take you down so you can see how high up it was. And just that piece right there is where it collapsed. You can see the rubble on the bottom floor there. It's pretty high up. We've seen these people working around it for quite some time. You can see those firefighters actively working and searching out there. Now, like I said, you can probably not see it so well as we can, but there's just a lot of dust around here. It's very, very like a plow of dust right now. You can see it on the cars, it's on the floors from that impact, from that collapse. Now people are waiting by. We are standing here, speaking to family members, people who are just finding out now more about their loved ones. And so we'll stay close by and keep a close eye on this angle for you. I'm live in Miami Beach. Annalise Garcia, Local 10 News.
Annalise, thank you for that. For those of you who are just tuning in, we are covering major breaking news here in South Florida, the partial building collapse of a building in Surfside. And I just want to let you know, because we're going to go over the details, because many of you are just waking up and you're wondering, why Good Morning America wasn't on or what's happening. We are on with complete coverage for you. We're not going anywhere. And we're waiting for a news conference. Looks like it's happening right there. That is Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava.
Our prayers are with the residents, with the families, with the community. What we know at this point is that the Champlain Tower, Tower South, is a 12-story building. It's more than 130 units, and about half of those have collapsed. A massive search and rescue is underway. And we know that we're going to do everything we can possibly do to identify and rescue those who have been trapped in the rubble. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue is leading the efforts, and they have been on the scene since the early morning, and they're doing an amazing job. Thank you so much to our brave fire rescue workers. They have years of experience in this type of operation, and they are doing everything they possibly can do, so we need to allow them to do their work. Very important. We need to allow them to do their work, because every minute in this search can make a huge difference. We've set up a family reunification hotline for those who are trying to get information about their loved ones. Call 305-614-1819, 614-1819, or you can go to miamidade.gov/emergency to report online missing persons or to check in if someone is safe. So again, 305-614-1819. Chaplains and victim advocates are on site ready to support the survivors and family members who will be in need of resources. Our social service agencies as well are coming in. They are going to be here to assist in the hours and the days ahead. I'm thinking of all of our first responders. I know you are as well, and praying for their safety as they go about their difficult work of saving lives. Bueno, aquí estamos. Lo increíble que ha ocurrido. Ya sabemos que tenemos un edificio de 12 pisos y más que 130 viviendas. Y estamos haciendo la operación masiva para encontrar los que están todavía allí.
You're listening to Miami-Dade County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava as part of a press conference as we keep an eye on this breaking news regarding the partial building collapse in Surfside. Something to note, as she was saying there, because we've been passing along numbers this morning. In fact, one of them was the emergency information line. That was the 305-993-1071 number that we were told earlier with regards to information in this emergency to grab. Now, the mayor there was giving a different number. That was what she said was a family reunification hotline. So if anybody needs that, that number, she said, was 305-614-1819. We'll be sure to get that up on the screen at some point, on our website as well at local10.com, as part of this ongoing story, something we've been keeping an eye on all morning long, because we're still working to figure out what exactly happened, what caused this building collapse, this partial building collapse in Surfside specifically. And we've shown you pictures of that rubble, the live photos from Sky 10 as to just the magnitude of the situation as this conference is ongoing, and we want to listen in again.
Board of County Commission Chairman.
This is a very sad moment in our community, and especially the city of Surfside, when something like this actually happens. It is important that all your prayers go out to the family members and those that are suffering right now. I want to thank all the first responders for the incredible job that they've been doing, they have done, and that we'll be doing for the next several days in dealing with this. It is important that we all rally around the families and the people that are actually suffering so much at this time. I want to thank my colleague also that is here, Rene Garcia, along with all my colleagues that have been calling nonstop to try to find out anything they could do to help out. We are together as a community, working together, as the mayor said, all the details have been given, but we're here together to find anything that we could do to help the families that have gone through this tragedy. So, on behalf of Miami-Dade County's Commission, as the chairman of the board, we're here in support to Surfside and this community and everything we could do. Estoy aquí de parte de la comisión de Miami-Dade County como su presidente.
Okay, that's Jose Pepe Diaz, Miami-Dade Commissioner right there. He didn't have too much to say other than how hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to the loved ones that we don't know. Are they missing? Have they been reunited? This is going to take some time. Let's go over some of the details while he speaks in Spanish for a moment, and then we'll get you back to the next person who's going to give us more information. But we do know that 10 people were treated on the scene, and of those 10, 2 had to be transported. In the transport, 1 died. So that tells us that 1 possibly is still in the hospital, 1 has passed away, and then 8 others treated on the scene. Seemingly, you would think they would be okay if they weren't transported. So this is a situation where we are nowhere near being done with not only the investigation, but we're talking about the search and rescue. The investigation will come in the days, months ahead and find out what went wrong here. But the immediate situation that we're dealing with, the real problem is anyone else stuck in that rubble? Is anyone else missing? And so let's see if we can get some more information right now with the next speaker.
Assistant Fire Chief of Operations for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. I'll spell.
Good morning. Ray Jadala, R-A-Y-J-A-D-A-L-L-A-H, Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. So Miami-Dade Fire Rescue at approximately 1:30 this morning responded to a reported building collapse. To summarize, we had a 12-story, 136 unit apartment complex that had sustained a partial collapse. The northeast corridor of the apartment had collapsed, approximately 55 apartment units. Our units began search and rescue efforts. They pulled 35 occupants that were trapped inside the building. In addition to those 35, 10 were assessed and treated. 2 were transported to various hospitals. Search and rescue efforts are still ongoing. We do have operations conducting inside based on additional intel that we're receiving from resources inside. To kind of echo the mayor's words, we have established a reunification center, and if you do have loved ones that are not answering your call, we ask that you do contact the phone number that's been given to you, 305-614-1819. Thank you.
To do the Spanish for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, PIO Ricker Benitez.
Erika Benítez, portavoz del Departamento de Bomberos de Miami-Dade.
And as we take a listen to this news conference there, important information from Miami-Dade Fire Rescue that was confirmed. This was a 12-story, 136-unit apartment complex that had that partial collapse happen. Again, being told that they pulled 35 people that were trapped inside this building. And going back to our previous numbers that we reported, that was 10 treated on the scene, 2 of the 10 transported, and 1 of those 2 unfortunately passed away. Now, search and rescue is still ongoing. We've mentioned that before, and now it was confirmed in that presser. So these numbers could very well change as we keep an eye on this throughout the rest of the morning.
You're looking at live pictures on the right side of your screen as we stay into this news conference to get more information. But he also pointed out that this was the northeast quadrant of the building, and we finally got that number. We knew that there was more than 100 condo units in the South Tower of Champlain, but now we know 136 condo units in total, 55 destroyed in that northeastern quadrant. We showed you how it's an L-shaped building. And you can see this is the back side of the building. So not the side that's facing out to Collins Avenue, the side that's facing out to the ocean and getting the ocean beach view. That is the part that collapsed partially right there onto the ground and the sand. Okay, let's listen into the next speaker.
Good morning. First and foremost, we pray for the victims and their families. The Miami-Dade Police Department's role will be the lead investigative agency. We will be working with Surfside Police Department and our other municipal partners. Our goal is to provide a thorough investigation and closure for our families. Estamos aquí, somos los príncipes en la investigación de lo que ha pasado aquí. Vamos a trabajar junto con las otras agencias y estamos rezando para la familia y las víctimas. Gracias.
Can you repeat your name and title?
Freddie Ramirez, Director of Miami-Dade Police Department.
City Manager for Surfside, Mr. Andrew Hyatt.
First and foremost, our thoughts and prayers are with the families and the victims. Also, I just want to make sure that the emergency personnel understand how important it is that we have their participation here. We appreciate it very much. We've been in contact with Senator Scott, Senator Rubio's office. We've been in touch with the governor's office, Governor DeSantis, the county mayor, other towns in our area, and we're very appreciative of what they've offered and the assistance, anything we need. This is not going to be something that is going to be brief. It's going to be something that's going to be for the long term and possibly, at least a week. And these people behind me, it's very important that you recognize them, because there's a lot of support here, and this is who is helping to make this happen, that we can resolve this as quick as possible. Thank you.
Okay, due to the lightning that you just saw, we're only going to allow for 4 questions, and for the safety of everyone here, we're going to move them out. You guys are going to be moved to the next block over. This is going to be vacated due to safety reasons. So just 4 questions, and then we're going to continue on really quick. Fire rescue.
What can you tell us about numbers? What kind of equipment do you have that's uniquely positioned to help in this situation?
So, in regards to the equipment, we do have our heavy rescue. We have our heavy equipment such as our Paratechs. We are shoring up the structure on the inside as we continue to tunnel in to locate additional survivors.
Sir, the third question, we're 35 people. How many of them were pulled from the undamaged part of the building versus the damaged part? And how many people, question 1, and how many were pulled from the part that collapsed?
All right, so part 1, 35 were pulled out from the structure and part of the collapse, but not from the rubble, and 2 were pulled from the rubble.
Do you have a list of people who are that disappeared?
That information, I'll defer that to Miami-Dade Police Department.
How many people are still missing?
Renovations, as we understand, Can you elaborate as to what was going on?
I don't have that information. I'll defer that. Currently, search and rescue operations are continuing based on the intel that we have.
How many people are still missing?
In regards to the number of people missing, we don't have the total missing. We haven't established that. Again, we ask that you continue to contact that reunification number that's been given out until we go from there.
Is the pricing for the death toll to go substantially higher?
At this time, we're still conducting search and rescue operations, so we really don't have that type of information.
Folks, because of the lightning, we're gonna have to get people out. We need to have you guys start packing up. It's going to be on the lot just north of here. You're gonna have, it's about a block over. You're gonna see it's Miami Beach Police securing the area. That will be the media staging area. All of this will be cleared off for safety reasons.
Okay, you've been listening to a very important news conference just now, giving us a lot of new information, but for safety reasons, they have to clear out. We know that the storms and the bad weather are going to hamper search and rescue efforts even more. They'll still keep working through the rain and through the storms, but with lightning, you have to be a little bit concerned. But let's just focus on a couple things that they said in case you missed it. I just want to tell all of our viewers real quick. He said that they did pull out 2 survivors from the rubble. We've only been showing you 1 this morning. 2 have been pulled out, and they are already using their heavy machinery, tunneling in through that debris and that pile of rubble, looking for survivors. They have no idea how many people are missing because it's too soon to know. That's why they want everybody to call that number. I'll tell you real quick. It's 305-614-1819, and we'll get that up on your screen, because if you're missing a family member, if you're looking for a family member, they need to know to start to put their account together of who they're looking for.
And that's different than the number we were giving out earlier, the emergency info line. That was a separate number. So the one that JC just spoke out, that was the family reunification hotline that they've set up. So for now, we'll pass that along to you. We'll put it up on the screen when we can. We also want to talk about and show you some more video here in just a second, where we talked to another witness this morning who says she lives nearby. Are we going to this sound, or are we going to surveillance video, I believe? Side. All right, well, we're going to go here to the soundbite first of someone we talked to earlier who started hearing this commotion when it first happened.
I went home for 5 minutes, and I came back down Collins, and I passed a gentleman with dust all over him like you see after 9/11, and I asked him if he was okay. He was in shock, but he said he was okay.
Wow.
Stand by. That same witness we talked to on the phone says once she realized the severity of the situation, that's when she just simply jumped into action and did as best she could.
I'm just in shock, being a veteran, I just jumped in, and I didn't ask if I could redirect the traffic or anything. And then I called the Surfside dispatchers, and I said, is there anything else I can do? And they told me to go to the command post, but they won't let me through, and I was going to do whatever else I can to help out. But right now, I just see like hundreds of firefighters on 88th and Collins just waiting for further word what to do.
We also spoke to a witness on the phone this morning who lives in a nearby building. She says, like many people said, they thought it sounded like thunder or a freight train, maybe even an earthquake. But then she saw the building collapse, and she was the one who was really concerned. And the mayor told us about this as well, that for at least the past 30 days, there has been construction on that Champlain building, the South Tower. It had her concerned. They've been working on the roof, and she even saw a crane that was nearby.
They were lifting. The crane was gigantic. I'm not an expert, but what they were bringing on that roof, it was heavy machinery, material. And the things is that they put the machinery or whatever it is that they needed right on that side where the building collapsed.
Annalise Garcia also talked to a man a short time ago who has a tenant that lives in the building. This was earlier this morning. Willie Gomez is his name, who says he was up early when he saw the news, and once he saw the address, he rushed over to check out the scene.
I mean, there's got to be people in those that were there in these units. I mean, it's like, what's going on? I don't think if they got any notice before this happened, it's like, it had to be like all of a sudden.
So again, if you're just joining us, this is breaking news all morning long of a partial building collapse in Surfside. We just got done with a press conference, or rather not done, it had to get moved because of the weather right now, because of lightning, and that's just one of the many variables we've been keeping an eye on this morning that's going to impact not just the information we get throughout the rest of the day, but also the ongoing, and we emphasize ongoing, search and rescue efforts. That has not stopped, and in fact, that's why we can't get a firm number right now as to the number of people that are missing from this partial building collapse.
Okay, we're coming up on 9:30 right now. What did you say?
Andrea.
Andrea, okay. I was going to say we're going to recap, being that it's coming up to 9:30, all the details in case you're just tuning in. But before we get to that, Andrea just arrived on the scene. We've got Andrea Martinez live out there. Andrea, where are you, and what have you learned since you arrived?
Hey, JC, if you can hear me, I am at the community center just a few blocks away from that building collapse. This is a reunification center put together by the Red Cross and Miami-Dade County to kind of reunify those victims with their family members, but also to create a database. This is what I'm being told, that they're creating a database here of all of the victims and people who haven't been ID'd yet. Obviously, family members, victims of family members are here. They've been here all morning, hugging, distraught, obviously, comforting one another and crying. But, they're here to basically ID their victims or family members who they haven't heard from yet. Some of them could be in the hospital. I've talked to a few of them who don't want to go on camera, but they're just literally waiting to hear news. Those that lived in the building who were displaced, I'm being told, are also here and just kind of waiting to hear news as well as to where they're supposed to go next. I'm being told the building next door was also evacuated, and many of them were tourists who were here on vacation. They're also here waiting to be placed in a hotel room, waiting to be told where they should go. I'm being told that buses are going to come here shortly and ship them out as well. And also, just keep in mind that it does take a while to ID the victims that may be in the hospital, and that's why they're building this database to kind of get more information and wait until next of kin is notified as well. The Red Cross is here as well. You can see the Red Cross truck here if I get closer, assisting with food, assisting with shelter, and trying to get hotels for these people who need a place to go. And like I said, a lot of family members here just very distraught. It just started raining, so now they're trying to stay under this shelter here, but just distraught, waiting to hear news, waiting to get more information, just like all of us are here as well. Now, I'm also being told that there is a phone number that you can call if you know somebody who was in the building or if you need more information. This is an emergency phone number. It's 305-614-1819. Again, that number, 305-614-1819. That is the very latest here from this community center.
All right, Andrea Martinez, thank you so much for that update. We appreciate it. It's hopeful to see so many people there. Hopefully that is going to continue with the efforts to bring people together who may still be missing. Here are the side-by-side pictures. To the right of your screen is what the building looked like yesterday. And to the left of your screen, this is what it looks like now. And that is unbelievable, very surreal. And you can see all the debris and the rubble and just the demolition below the building right there in the black and white photo.
Yeah, earlier we were told that it's obviously an L-shaped building. That no longer the case. It was pancake. That was a direct quote from the Surfside mayor earlier this morning. And that rubble that you see there, that is a tall pile of rubble. It is not small whatsoever. And that's just one of many things that search and rescue crews are going through right now. And earlier we showed you photos of canine units on the scene as well, because we can't give you a direct number at the moment of how many people are missing, because that is still ongoing. Everybody who's been taken out of that building and cleared is over at the community center that you just saw Andrea reporting from. They're trying to get a database established to get a firm number of the people that they have and how many people are perhaps still missing, because the numbers we have right now are that 10 were treated at the scene following the collapse, 2 were transported to an area hospital, and then 1 was unfortunately passed away while being transported. So that right now is what we know, and we're just keeping an eye on this partial building collapse in Sunrise, because this breaking news just keeps changing on us every hour of the morning.
Yeah, let's kind of recap a little bit more for you. We do know what is happening right now, which is the major concern, is that they are searching that collapsed area with heavy machinery. We also know they are already tunneling in, searching for any survivors, any victims that could be in that rubble. And we do know that they are still trying to figure out how many people are missing. So that is going to be key to the search and rescue and recovery efforts. So they need to find out exactly how many people are missing, and that's what they're working on with that family reunification center at the community center, which we just have had Andrea and Ian there as well.
And right now we're going to take a look at, or get a check of the forecast rather, with Brandon, because Brandon, we've been wondering all morning long, I mean, keeping an eye on the weather and how it could potentially impact the things that are going on in Surfside right now.
Yeah, because we had the storms earlier that had fizzled out before they moved there, and then we saw this new one generate, and it's already moved in. This is the view from Miami. Normally you could see Surfside here in the background, but the rain is kind of blocking our view. It has been coming down heavy. You can see just how widespread some of this rain is at this point. Even some thunderstorms in the mix too. Here's Surfside. This is the rain that has moved in. I think some of the strongest storms will be just off to the north, but they're close enough that I'm sure they can hear some of the thunder, and they're getting some lightning strikes occasionally within some of this, but it's not excessive lightning. So I know rescue efforts are still ongoing. We did hear that storms like this, since it's not too strong, they'll still continue. It's not going to bother them too much, but it will make things pretty wet out there at times. This is exactly where that building collapse is, right in the heart of Surfside. Up towards Broward, we have some heavy rain too. Some of this moving through Sunrise, a couple of lightning strikes there. None of this sticks out like it's going to cause any significant flooding. So no flood advisories at the moment, but we'll see if we get back-to-back storms that could cause some minor flooding in spots later on today. Strong line of thunderstorms about to move into Biscayne Bay. It's been fizzling out too. So these are kind of fluctuating in intensity. It's been pretty spotty down here by the Keys too. So this is right now. It's doing a pretty good job with handling some of the widespread showers and thunderstorms. A lot of this tries to push off to the west as we get later this afternoon, but look at another round of storms generating. So that's why we're saying on and off. We'll get some breaks, and then we'll see a few more thunderstorms develop at times throughout the day. So we'll watch out for that, especially right around Surfside. We'll probably get more storms into this afternoon at times. By 10 o'clock, things look fairly isolated at that point. Main threats will be lightning strikes, minor flooding, and of course some strong gusty winds with some of these coming in off the water too. So by late tonight, a few lingering thunderstorms. I'll wake up with you again tomorrow morning, probably have a couple of brief downpours, maybe a thunderstorm or two. So we'll have some pop-up storms early in the day, and then just like today, we'll get a few more redeveloping later in the afternoon, on and off, hit and miss type of stuff. 90 degrees for highs by the time we get to the weekend, so warming up just a little bit. Rain chances still elevated too, anywhere between 40 to 50%. In fact, the lowest rain chances on the 7-day is 40% into next week. So not as many storms, but still a pretty stormy weather pattern, hot and humid too. We're going to continue to watch some of this rain as it approaches that building collapse site over there in Surfside, and we'll have more updates throughout the day.
South Florida, we're still monitoring that traffic situation going on down there where this partial building collapse happened. So those north and southbound lanes here on A1A are still currently closed, and they're closed between 85th Street and 96th Street. So that's about a mile of closures there. And we're also seeing some delays in that area. You can see that mile of closure. So if you're trying to head north or southbound, you won't be able to access that road right now. What you want to do is take Biscayne Boulevard to get to where you have to go this morning and avoid those delays. There are crews out there monitoring the traffic situation, making sure that people drive away from that area. But just so you know, before you head out this morning, you want to take Biscayne Boulevard instead. That way you can access US 1, the Julia Tuttle, or the MacArthur Causeway without any issues. 95 looking a lot busier. Traffic is slowing down just a bit. If you're heading on 95, if that's a part of your commute this morning, you can expect some delays. Broward County, I don't want to forget about you because there is a crash I want to tell you about before you head out. It's impacting 595 and those eastbound lanes right at 95. So if you're heading on 595 eastbound, that's where 2 lanes are currently blocked. Speeds coming in as slow as 8 miles per hour. So brace yourself for those slowdowns there. Those southbound lanes of 95 in Broward also seeing some heavy delays. Your speeds coming in at 27 miles per hour. Other than that, you're looking pretty much good all over. The turnpike looking a lot better than 95 as well as 75.
All right, Alexis, thank you. Let's take a look at the side-by-side views we were showing you earlier. That left side there, that's what the building looked like before that collapse. On the right, that's what it looks like today. Earlier, we were talking about how it's supposed to be an L shape. Syra Anwar was talking with someone who said he was familiar with the building and that it was basically just leveled there. That rubble that you see on the right side of that collapse photo, that is significantly tall. It is not something to scoff at. And a big pile that search and rescue crews have to get underneath because they are tunneling with heavy tools in order to continue the search and rescue effort. That's how significant the damage is so far.
Okay, well, right now we want to go back live out to that community center where they're trying to bring people together for that family reunification and also find out who's missing and who they need to search for. We have Ian Margol there at the scene. Ian. Do we have Ian? Okay, Governor DeSantis is actually speaking right now in Tampa, so we'll put Ian on hold and we'll go ahead and take the governor right now.
Okay, he's about to speak right now, so you're taking a look at it right now. This is after we've heard a myriad of comments from local and state representatives. Marco Rubio tweeting out earlier, Mayor Danielle Levine-Cava, Miami-Dade County Mayor, tweeting out a statement and then speaking at a press conference. This is a live look right now at an expected Governor Ron DeSantis presser that we're going to be taking a look at and listening in once it gets set up and situated. Right now, again, a reminder that this search and rescue effort is ongoing, so the only numbers we can really confirm right now are that 10 people were pulled out, 2 transported to area hospitals, 1 unfortunately passed away. We're going to collect ourselves for a second. We'll be right back after the break.
Here's what's airing on Local 10 tonight. And here's what's on MeTV. And now a look at heroes and icons. Then catch up on the day with Local 10 News at 11. Local 10's primetime lineup is sponsored by Conviva Care Centers. Primary care for seniors committed to aging well.
Goodrick Moving and Storage is definitely a family business.
It feels like you are working with a family.
From the first call to the last phone call, they will always be in the best hands.
They're able to trust us.
We do it the right way.
Reputation for us is everything.
Good Greek is very involved in our community.
And helping out whenever there's a need.
And just be a part of something we're passionate about. Knowing that when they hire Good Greek Moving and Storage, they're going to get a great move.
Seeing the family happy, the kids run around and their rooms are set up.
This was their best move ever.
Okay, as promised, let's get straight over to Governor Ron DeSantis right now.
Making it down there very shortly, and the state's going to be able to do, we'll be helping out in any way that we can. But I do think the quick response was very important, and I do think it saved lives. So I want to thank the folks for their bravery in doing that. We've got a great group of folks here today. We have our Speaker of the House, Chris Sprowls. We have Representatives Yarborough, Mello, Harding, Senators Rodriguez, Stargell, Representatives Tuck and Toledo. I want to thank President Ken Atwater, also Richard Corcoran and Secretary Dane Eagle, and also have a recent graduate here, Carlos Howe. And so he's going to say a few things. So I want to thank, this is really a neat building. This is a state-of-the-art
So we missed much of what the governor said because we were taking a break right as he was walking into the room and going to the podium. But I can tell you that he said the quick actions and the unified response, he said it was unparalleled, and he was really proud of all the authority figures and all the rescue workers here in South Florida. We were talking all morning long. We came to you at 4 in the morning, and at 4 in the morning, there were more than 100 units on the scene from Dade and Broward. So we do know the governor said that because of those rescue efforts and those people on the ground saving lives, that this rescue effort looked vastly different than the way it could have looked. So he was saying, considering everything that we're going through, and we still are far from knowing how bad and how many people are missing, and if there's any more injuries, if there's any more deaths, we are far from knowing that. But he said the rescue efforts certainly made a big difference in saving lives.
And one of the things that we're keeping an eye on right now is, of course, the family reunification efforts, because after everyone got cleared out of that building, that's of course the next step in addition to the search and rescue. That number, we do want to check in really quick. Do we have Ian, or are we going to check in with him later on at the community center? Okay, so we're going to check in with him a little bit later on, because that's where everybody is congregated right now as they try to figure out what's next. Checking in on loved ones, because that's been incredibly difficult so far right now. The number that we were giving out earlier, that was from Danielle Levine-Cava's presser. That's the Family Reunification Hotline, 305-614-1819. That's a number that's worth repeating as we go on through the rest of the morning. Now we're being told that Ian Margol is ready to go. We want to check in with him live right now at that community center. Ian, are you still there, and what can you tell us?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. We were having some technical issues. We can tell you that this has continued to be
where they are having evacuees and also family members of people who lived in that building come here to try to reunite with the people that they loved, with the people that lived there. We'll take you to some video right now so that you can see what we are talking about. This really has been a place where we have seen kids coming in pajamas, people without shoes on. That is how quickly everybody was told to evacuate. And I was speaking a little earlier with a young man who lived on the first floor of the building, and he described hearing a number of big, loud rumbles and bangs. He said when he heard the first one that woke him up, he looked out his back window and he saw what he believed to be the area above the parking deck had collapsed. And I want to take you to some sound from him just now, to what he tells us happened next after he had gone outside to take a look.
Like 2 minutes later, I hear this large, like, rumbling noise out of nowhere, and I just see like white clouds, like of just dust coming out. So I told my mom, my sister, we were also parked outside. I told them to start running. We ran, and all we just see was just white dust, like just thick, and we saw nothing but just dust, and we couldn't even breathe. It was really bad.
And fortunately for him, his sister, and his mother all unhurt, all safe. Yeah. His mother and his sister were sleeping at a friend's place. He was waiting for more information here, but what we can tell you is for a lot of people that are here right now, they are just desperately waiting for information, waiting for more details, waiting to hear if their loved ones have made it or not. There was a young woman I was speaking with before. She said her mother lives in the part of the building that collapsed, and she was just devastated, coming to us, seeing if we knew anything more. What we can tell you, again, look for that unification number. If you have relatives that live in that building, this is where they want you to come to. We'll keep you posted as soon as we get any updates. For now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, and let's see if we can get that number up on the screen. That would really help our viewers. So producers, if you can do that for us, we'd greatly appreciate it, because 305-614-1819 is a different number than the one we were giving you earlier, which was the 993-1071. That was the emergency information. But I know, Ian, people really need that family reunification number, so we're going to get that up there for you. In the meantime, I had to ask you a question, Ian. When we first heard about this, one of the, I guess you could say it's a silver lining. I'm hoping that since we do have such a transient population here in South Florida, a lot of people leave in the summer months. As you know, we get more popular in the winter months. That's what we're known for. So a lot of people were saying they were hoping maybe the building wasn't as full as it normally is. It's 136 units, and we do know that 55 units were destroyed. Are you hearing about that out there, that maybe this building wasn't at its full capacity?
Unfortunately, what I have been hearing out here is that while it might not have been at full capacity, it was still a pretty high capacity. And what I can tell you is a lot of people that live here in Surfside, live in this area, are Orthodox Jewish. And we were speaking with a rabbi from one of the big shuls down here. Actually, Governor DeSantis was there just days ago. And he was telling me that a number of their congregation members live in that building, or congregation members' family live in that building. So while it may not have been to its full capacity, JC, unfortunately, it sounds like there were still a significant number of people living in those 55 units or so. And this is going to be a long trek ahead. You know, there's a lot to try to figure out. There had been some talk about if this started in the parking garage, and from that conversation I had with that young man, that sound you just heard, he was telling me when he looked out his window, what he saw was the area right above the parking deck had collapsed. That's what he heard come down first. He went outside to see what was going on, and then they just heard that rumbling noise, and that is when the rest of that building came down. He said they just sort of ran for it, and his thoughts at the moment, he said he was feeling grateful that they were doing okay, that he himself, his mother and his sister had survived, but that he was more worried at this moment about his neighbors, the people that lived in that building. So hopefully there were a lot of snowbirds that owned those units, and they were vacant, but we do know for sure that there are some very disturbed, or distressed is a better word, individuals here that are looking for parents, looking for siblings and things like that, and that's who we've been talking to here. And as I mentioned, earlier, if you go inside there right now, we're not doing that with our camera to be respectful to the people that are here, because obviously this is a horrible day for them. But if you were to go inside and look in there right now, you're seeing, it almost looks like what I would compare a hurricane shelter, right? When you walk inside and you see people sleeping on mats, and that's sort of what we were seeing in the earlier hours. Now that it's sort of daylight and people starting to wake up a little bit more, they're just sort of gathered out here waiting for more details. The American Red Cross is out here along with several fire rescue units as well. Fire rescue units from Miami-Dade Fire. There's police from Bal Harbor. There have been police from other departments as well, as I turn around here just to check my surroundings. And the Red Cross has been giving out water, coffee, trying to do their best to comfort these people and give them just sort of those basic needs, blankets as well. But a lot of people right now, you look around and you see people just no shoes. I mean, that's how quickly people are running out of there. People that were in the hotel next door told me they woke up. It sounded like a train that was coming down. That's what they said. They went out to their balcony, and this man and his wife, they just sort of looked, and their first reaction was, my goodness, it's just gone. They were evacuated and brought here. So that's sort of the evacuees we've been talking to. That's the stories those are the stories they've been telling us. Of course, as soon as we learn more, JC, Gio, we'll let you know.
All right, Ian, thank you. Nothing less than striking, that's for sure, on all these stories, everything we're hearing from people who were there at the scene, and of course for loved ones waiting to hear what happens with their family and friends. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, as the search and rescue efforts are ongoing.
It's going to take some time. This is not going to be quick, not a sprint, definitely a marathon. And Local 10 is with you for all of this. We're not going anywhere. We've been on the air since 4 a.m. and we are not going anywhere. We need to talk about our authorities, our political leaders who are speaking out. Senator Marco Rubio spoke out on the tragedy by this tweet he posted. He said, horrible images emerging, the partial collapse of a condo building in Surfside, Florida last night. Miami-Dade Fire has one of the best urban search and rescue teams in the world. They've been on the scene for hours searching for victims and survivors.
Other local leaders responding to this partial building collapse as well. Miami-Dade Mayor Daniela Levine Cava saying, quote, my prayers are with all those impacted by this horrific tragedy and with their families. We're so grateful to Miami-Dade Fire, Miami Beach Fire, and all the first responders on the scene. May they stay safe while working to save lives.
Representative Maria Elvira Salazar, who represents the area, also tweeting about the tragic collapse, saying, quote, my prayers are with all of the families and our brave Miami Beach PD and Miami-Dade Fire who are fighting around the clock to save lives.
And with that, we do want to check back in as we approach 10 o'clock in the morning. Annalise Garcia has been at the scene all morning long since 4 a.m. Annalise, live right now, what can you tell us about where you are? Did you have to move again, or what's the situation look like?
So it started to rain, so we ended up staying somewhere where we could stay as dry as possible, but I'll step out of the way since my umbrella is probably blocking what I'm looking at. So you can see we're in the same location now. That big pile of debris is getting wet. So it's a big concern for a lot of people that have been around here, family members, friends. We've been speaking to people passing by throughout the morning. Now, as it's raining, people are, waiting in their cars. All these first responders out here, you can even see in their faces that this is just devastating, and they are being ruthless and working hard to continue to figure out, if anybody's left there. And so right now you can take a look at that piece of the building that's collapsed, that big pile of debris, about 20 feet high. You can see air conditionings up there on the top. You see pieces of people's homes. There in that big pile of debris. It's the backside of this building facing the beach that collapsed, and you can even see the balconies right next to it with openings for whoever may have been inside those apartments parallel to it. So we are moving around as much as we can to get better views, get closer. This is the closest we can get for now. We are on 88th Street and Harding Avenue. Just parallel to this building on Collins and 88th. Now, we will keep you up to date as we learn more. For now, that's the very latest out here in Miami Beach.
That was one of our concerns, Annalise, that the rain, possible storms could hamper the search and rescue efforts. We know they will continue on, but it's just an added element that makes their job harder.
Right, especially on the day of when there's so much chaos going on around, and despite the fact that it's going to take a little while longer, much longer, before we get some concrete answers on some other things. So Annalise, thank you. We'll check back in later on this morning. Right now, we do want to catch up everyone on the latest information on the victims of this collapse from Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. You see the bullet points on your screen. 35 people have been evacuated from the building. So far, we're told that 2 people have been taken from the rubble. We showed you one of those earlier this morning, a young boy being pulled out of that rubble. They were taken to the hospital. We know that at least 1 person has died. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue still not sure how many people are missing or who may have been in the part of the building that fell at the time of the collapse. Keep in mind that that search and rescue effort is ongoing.
And this is very important. Okay, we've got 2 numbers to tell you about. First of all, there's the family reunification line. This is used for, are you missing someone? Are you looking for someone? Do you have a family or a loved one who lives in that building and you haven't heard from them and you haven't confirmed that they made it out okay? That's the number you call, 305-614-1819. Then the number we were giving to you much earlier on Local 10 was the number for emergency information. So maybe you have a question of when can you get back to that area to, let's say you live in that building and you want to get to your stuff, okay? You want those kind of questions answered, which everything's going to take time, so nothing's going to be open right away. But that's your emergency information line where you're not looking for someone, but you have questions, 305-993-1071. So just a good reminder, and we'll try and keep those numbers periodically scrolling on your screen just so you can be aware, because a lot of people need information and they need the authorities to know if they're still missing someone.
Right. In the meantime, our team coverage is going to continue with Local 10's Madeline Wright. Madeline?
Good morning, Gio and JC. Within the last few minutes, the police have pushed us back by a block because there is still a risk that the building that partially collapsed could completely collapse. And so they want to make sure that they move their emergency vehicles away from the front of the building to where the media was parked. And so the media has had to move about a block away. And that is to keep the equipment and the people, the emergency responders, safe from this building, which is structurally unsound. You can take a look. This is Champlain Towers South at the corner of 88th Street and Collins Avenue, which partially collapsed around 1:20 or 1:30 this morning. This is an L-shaped building. Now it is shaped like a box because 1/3 of the building has collapsed, and there were people, who knows how many, inside when this catastrophe happened. Take a look at this video from Sky 10 showing the aftermath. You can see just how devastating the damage is left behind. It is unknown how many people were in the building when this happened, but there are 136 units in this condo building. This building was built in 1981. It's 12 stories tall. It's not that old of a building. It's unclear how exactly this happened, but 1 person is confirmed dead. There were 9 people confirmed injured, one of them seriously. The fear is that the number of fatalities could dramatically rise because the building has pancaked. Floors that had maybe 15 feet between them, more than that, now have only just a few feet between them. You can imagine just how terrifying it was for the people inside this condo building earlier this morning as they were sleeping. The walls came caving in, the ceiling collapsed on top of them. Some of them were able to escape. In fact, a number of people were rescued. 2 people were pulled from the rubble. 35 people were rescued. A total of 55 units, however, were damaged. I talked to one man, the former vice mayor of the city of Surfside, Barry Cohen. He says that he heard a series of loud bangs early this morning as he was in a deep sleep. He ran out of the building to try to escape, but as soon as he opened the door, there was all this dust in the hallway. He tried to go downstairs. He came across a steel door that was bent, and it was also blocked on the other side by debris. He went downstairs to the basement or the garage, which was flooded because of all the pipes that had burst and the water was rising. So he went back upstairs, grabbed his underwear, grabbed his wife, and he and his neighbors called out the window for firefighters to help. He says that firefighters were able to bravely come up with a cherry picker and place him and his loved ones in the basket or the bucket, and then transport them down to the ground. He is just so grateful to be alive. But there are a lot of people out here who have been gathered for hours trying to get information on their loved ones who may still be in the building at this hour. One man I talked to said that his friend is a doctor who performed life-saving liposuction on him when he had some complications, and that she lives in there along with her partner and their 4 to 5-year-old daughter, whom they presumably adopted or had a surrogate to be able to create their family, which they had been trying to create for such a long time. He is very afraid and very worried for them. He's been calling them all morning long. He hasn't been able to get in touch with them. He and his family members are taking turns calling, and they just have not been answering the phone. And so that's why Miami-Dade, the county of Miami-Dade has set up a family reunification line to try to help people get in touch with their loved ones. If you have a family member that's missing, you're urged to call that number. If you were in the building at the time and you want to report that you're safe, that's the number that you call. So at this hour, because the building is unsafe, emergency crews are trying to figure out the safest way to perform the search and rescue operation. They're going to have to go through the rubble, try to find any surviving victims, pull them out, get them the medical attention that they need. There's no doubt going to be a risk or a likelihood or a chance that they recover some bodies as they go through the rubble. Dogs were out searching earlier this morning, but it was too dark and it was dangerous for them to go out, so they had to wait till dawn. Now we've got rain in the picture. There has been lightning, there has been thunder, and that is a risk, but as long as it's safe, firefighters will continue the search and rescue operation. Meanwhile, there is an investigation underway into what caused this building to collapse. There was roof work being done at the time. The roof was being replaced, and Barry Cohen, that former vice mayor I was telling you about, he said that that combined with the fact that a new condo tower was built right next to Champlain Tower South last year caused the building to shake, and he wonders if that could have caused the condo building to be structurally unsound. There is a hotel next to Champlain Tower South that also had to be evacuated, and people are not able to stay in there anymore because it's just too close to Champlain Tower South. You can bet that emergency crews are going to be here not just today and not just tomorrow, but likely a week or longer as they work to secure the scene, get a handle on how many people are missing and what needs to be done to secure this building until it can be presumably demolished. Now, back live, you can see that there are a lot of emergency vehicles out here. This is a multi-agency response. Units from as far north as Pompano Beach to as far south as Coral Gables are here, including Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, the Broward Sheriff's Office, Pembroke Pines Fire, and other agencies all assisting in this investigation. About 80 to 100 units initially responded when this incident happened around 1:30 this morning. So there are a lot of moving parts here. Family members trying to reach out to their loved ones, rescue workers trying to pull any potential bodies from the rubble or transport survivors to the hospital, and an investigation underway into how this tragedy happened. Live in Surfside, Madeline Wright, Local 10 News.
And thank you so much for that update. We appreciate it.
We'll check back in later on. Now let's check in with FIU engineering professor at Tolrat, Aziz Namini, on the phone to discuss this collapse. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Still 10 a.m. Thank you for giving us some time.
Good morning.
When it comes to this type of collapse, what's the first thing that a lot of us need to know? Because all we see on the screen is just partial building collapse. We know that it's a significant casualty event. But from your perspective, what's the most important thing?
I think probably from the public standpoint, the first question that comes to your mind is that what caused this collapse, and if the building that I'm living in is safe or the same thing can happen. So to answer that question, the structural engineer will have to sit down and find out the cause of the collapse. And this is going to take some time. It's not going to be a matter of a day or two. It's going to be much longer than that. And structural engineers usually look at all the different factors, everything that went into design of that building. They will look at the plans. They will be taking the samples of the material that went into the building. They will look at the history of it. They will look at the foundation, for example, the type of maybe other activities like construction going on nearby. the type of the loading that structure was subjected to. And we can also simulate, actually, in the computer, we can simulate, given all those information, all those data, structural engineers can simulate these things in computer and pinpoint what could have been the cause of the collapse. But that is going to take some time. I don't believe it's going to be a matter of days. Immediately, in a short term, structural engineers can help the trying to inform the rescue people as far as what are safe, what is not safe, how the occupancy, for example, what they should do with the rest of the building that is not collapsed or so on. So immediately they can provide some, based on the visual evidence, they can provide some guidance to the authority. But to find the cause of the collapse, that's going to take some time. I know that the public is anxious trying to find that immediately because they are concerned about maybe the other buildings that they are living in. But it's going to take some time. And then in the long term, I think this may translate into how we inspect buildings and how we approach the inspection and so on in the future. That will be done down the road.
You know, to expand on what you just said, you're the expert. You're looking at the same thing we're looking at, but you have much more experience in this outlet. Are you concerned if we've had a partial building collapse and it looks like this and you see the debris field? Are you concerned that on its own we could have more of a building collapse in the coming hours and days?
No, not really. I wouldn't say that because every building is unique, and again, it's what's important is to find the cause of it. I mean, it could be that in this particular building, maybe the construction quality, maybe the foundation where it's placed. Every building is located on a different foundation, so every building has its own characteristics. So I wouldn't be go that route right now. But I think what's important at this point is for structural engineers to gather all the information that they can, and then analyze those data, and then find out what the collapse is. And usually, I can tell you this much: when a collapse takes place, First of all, I think it gives most of the time it gives you some warnings in advance, and also not only just one factor. Usually, several factors play a role, and it's almost like a perfect storm. A perfect storm has to happen in order to collapse like that to take place. So, no, I would not worry about the similar thing right away. That's going to happen to every other building. I mean, we just have to let the structural engineers to collect all the information, not guess. I think the biggest mistake that we can do is at this point, by looking at the visual evidences, try to pinpoint what the cause of the collapse is, and that's not scientific. That's not based on the engineering principles. It takes time. You have to collect the data, analyze them, and there are very qualified structural engineers in the area that can do that, and we have lots of experience in doing similar things in different parts of the world, actually.
You mentioned a myriad of factors that play into figuring out what exactly caused this. Does the age of a building play into that? And if so, how much? Because we found out earlier this building is only about 40 years old, which relatively speaking is not that old. So does that play a factor potentially into finding out what caused this partial collapse?
The age of the building is not by itself a factor, but age of the building could be not in this particular case, but the age of the building, especially in this, for example, in this earthquake regions, it's a factor that how in let's say 1980s we designed the building differently than what we did in 1990s or 2000. So in that sense, yes, it does. But the buildings usually. Most of the building elements are protected from the weather elements, except, for example, balconies and things like that is subject to the sea sea level, sea waters, and so on. So the age of the building by itself really is not the biggest factor. I think in this case, they're going to look at material that went into it, signs of corrosion, why it collapsed, the way it collapsed, the foundation, the plans. They're going to check the design, original design, trying to see that whether this building, for example, this particular building was designed correctly based on the governing the building code at the time and so on. So to answer your question, the age of the building by itself, it's not that concerning, no.
Well, what about an extension of that, which is that we've learned the building was undergoing renovations for some time, at least a month, according to the Surfside mayor, and perhaps the renovations were focused on the roof portion of the building.
Yeah, I mean that could be a factor. For example, if you store lots of construction material, let's say on the roof, and you overload it, let's say you have not in this particular building, but if you have a building that was not designed correctly, and it was under-designed, and then you put some additional load, like, for example, construction materials and so on in the roof, that's additional load. And if it wasn't designed for that, that could be a cause of that could be a factor that structural engineers will look at it, of course.
One of the things that we want to touch on before we let you go, you mentioned before that this is obviously not going to be something that wraps up in a day or two, perhaps not even a week. Remind me on the timeline from your perspective, is this going to take a lot longer than perhaps a month, two? How long do you foresee this happening before we have as many answers as possible?
Yeah. To answer your question, I mean, it will be nice to say, to give a timetable, 1 week, 2 weeks, but I think it depends on the complexity of the problem. If the structural engineers looks at it and the reasons are too obvious, I think it will take a shorter time. Maybe I cannot really give you a time. Depends on the specifics, but it's going to be longer than a month or two. But that's my guess.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time so much. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day to help us out with this.
You bet. You bet.
Thank you so much. Really brings a perspective for us to understand what we are dealing with in the days and months ahead with this investigation. But right now, we're bringing new images into the Local 10 newsroom. Ian Margall sent these to us. You can see this is a side view of that building, the debris in the back portion of the building facing out to the ocean. And then here is a view from Collins Avenue. And you can see we're still looking kind of at the same viewpoint, but now from the street. And you can see that debris field with all the rubble. And there's your emergency crews that have been working since just after midnight last night and continue to be in that area. That is the area, that debris field, that pile of rubble where all the destruction has piled up on the ground below. That is where they will be searching for any survivors and any victims that may